Get ready for the world's greatest Arsenal podcast. Welcome to another podcast by Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Guns and Yellow Ribbons, episode 228. Wow, would you believe it? We're nearly 5 years old. I'm joined today by my good sidekick, Gunnar Hilsey, and actually, to be honest, my two other good mates who seem to be very, very regular this season. We got Danish Gunnar Alex, and we got Capo Dan. You need to change your Twitter to Capo Dan. After what you did at the start of that North London derby, London is red. What you did, Dan, at the start of that was absolutely brilliant. Dan, how are you doing? How's your voice? I know you had a bit of an infection and everything else, but how are you doing?
Yeah, he's coming back. He still feels a bit ropey, but I'm getting back to ready to sing tomorrow night and probably ruin my voice again. But yeah, I'm loving it at the moment. That was great for me. Everything that you want from the football came on Saturday.
It did. Just to clarify, it's a throat or lung or ear infection. Nothing else. No.
Yeah, nothing else there. Just a chest infection. To my one female fan that I might have on Twitter somewhere. Yeah, it's just a chest infection.
Alex, how you doing, mate? It seems like I've only seen you here a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I'm still buzzing from the game and everything. Yeah, still on cloud nine. Voice is coming back slowly, but yeah, I'm still buzzing.
Right, and the man in charge of the comments tonight, I'm not even touching them. I'm not going to do anything, but you need to highlight comments you want me to talk about. I'll star them, and I can see the starred ones. Gunnar Hilsey, Trev, you couldn't make it because you were on a plane back from Corfu, so you had to watch it after the event. That must have been difficult, Trev, for you.
I can't talk, Fergus, at the moment. I can't talk to you. I'm sorry. You've not paid me 2 jelly babies and a cola.
Move on. I'm not getting into that fight, mate. That's for other people to talk and discuss. That's
not a fight. It's everyone to their own, Fergus, and I'm just making light of something that people have started going in heavy about.
Absolutely. You know what? That's perfectly justified.
So now that we've talked about that, 1 jelly baby and a cola bottle. No,
we've got a treat for you. Alex has brought some Nordic food for you, which we'll talk about afterwards, and that's your treat as payment.
Yeah, listen, I would have gone to the derby, although I've not gone to many games this season. I would have gone to the derby, but I forgot about the Europa League kicking in, and I was sure they'd move it to Sunday. But I was up in the air flying, and even the captain of the plane wouldn't find out the score for me. So as soon as the wheels touched the tarmac back at Luton Airport, my phone was on. And then the big smile come across my face, and the missus knew that she was going to have a nice drive home instead of a really horrible drive home as well.
This isn't your car, is it?
No, that's
I know
a gentleman called David's car, and massive Arsenal fan. Love it.
I know.
I'd love to go.
I know,
wouldn't you, Fergus? I'd love to have a 10-minute Zoom around in that one day with him, eh? The stories we could tell, it'll be a lovely drive.
Beautiful.
Yeah. To be honest, that was on front of our Uber on the way down on the M11 when we were going down to the game in the morning. Dave was in front of us, Dave Skates. I've met Dave a couple of times in around like the Highbury Emirates sort of that Drayton Park area. And I remember he came along and said, "Do you want to jump in?" He's played a bit of ska music, and it's absolutely brilliant. I didn't, because there was a couple of them in there and they're all smoking and everything. I just said, "No, I'm all right." I was with some other people. But yeah, as you say, some stories you'd have there.
Yeah.
Is that open top?
No. It's just a picture.
I'd love to sing out of that, stand up and sing, and I'm going to
just go around all the pubs.
You're
only that high anyway.
Loud.
You can stand up and sing it anyway.
You'd have to be very loud, Dan, to sing over the top of the sound system that's in the back end of that, let me tell you.
I'll give it a go.
So Alex, I suppose we'll talk about the build-up of the game. We met up with Dan about 10 down the Tolly, but before that, I went and got my COVID jab, my 4th one, just because I wanted to make sure I could go into Holland easy and everything else, because they've got some rules about when you go over there. But had my COVID jab. You and your dad were here, and then young Luke came around and met us, and we went up and had we had a big breakfast.
A very big one, yeah.
Talk to us about what it felt like doing a North London derby, London style.
Yeah, it was special. I've done a couple of North London derbies before, but it was special because it was the first time I did it with my dad. So yeah, that was extra special, and you could just feel it as soon as we woke up, and just in the cafe as well, having breakfast. People were, oh, what do you think the result's going to be? And everyone knew what was going on that day. Everyone knew that it was the North London derby. So yeah, it was just extra special being there. And then with, of course, you and my dad as well. Yeah, it was really nice. Yeah.
And I had the audio from, there was like 2 minutes or whatever audio of us singing Hate Tottenham, all of that one from I was up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and your dad said, I heard that about 6:30. He woke up to Hate Tottenham, Hate Tottenham. So yeah, it was really good.
It was a bit unfortunate with the plane. We had a delay, so Fergus was very nice. He picked us up in like 1 o'clock in the night. He picked us up at Stansted, so it was a late night. Didn't have much sleep. But yeah, when we look back, I'm happy about the result, because otherwise it would have been a bit of a shit trip.
Yeah, well, technically speaking, we started drinking at 1:30 in the morning, so I think we've done quite well to last through till 11:30 the following day.
Yeah.
Dan, you joined us at the Tully. It was okay though. The atmosphere in the Tully was quite good. It was quite crammed in that closed area, but we got some songs going. In particular, the up the arse for so that was quite funny.
No, we had a few. Obviously, being an early kickoff, a bit of a slow start with the atmosphere, and I'm not a fan of the early kickoff just for that reason that when you get a 3 o'clock kickoff or a late kickoff, people will get going for a bit more in the pubs. But North London derby, you got to be ready for that, whatever time of the day it is.
Yeah, no, definitely. But we went to the stadium. We went to the stadium just after 11 o'clock, and they had a special offer on. So, we availed. We make sure we stockpiled. You can tell Trev wasn't there because there'd be no beers, and Trev would be standing in the corner drunk and everything else.
What do we call that kind of parking?
Yeah, that's 20 times parking. That's called a multi-story.
Yeah.
I'm a bit gutted that I can't join in with this conversation because I wasn't there, but I know been to so many, and I love to see you youngsters getting excited about the North London derby, because no matter what anyone tells you, it's the biggest derby in the country, right? And a funny story. I mean, I went to school in Tottenham. And it was the build up to the North London derby was horrendous for me. I was in a school at 95% supporting Tottenham, and if we lost, I used to have to bunk off for a week afterwards. I didn't go to school. I used to dodge it and then just forge my mum's signature on a letter the following week.
I thought we were more successful than that in that era, because, if you must have bunked off a lot.
Yeah. When I was 16 in the 90s, it was it was a good period for us.
1890s.
Yeah. All right, move on, boring boy.
Right, listen. So, Trev, this is one we can ask you. The atmosphere that we built up in the stadium beforehand, and we'll go into what Capo, Dan, and myself, but mostly Dan and some of the other lads did in Block 5, Block 6. But did the atmosphere come across on the TV? You know what it's like. You're there generally every most games, home and away. So you know what the atmosphere is like. Did it come across as more electric, or did it just come across like did we sound up for it?
No, it sounded a great atmosphere, to be honest with you, mate. I obviously I didn't watch the game live, but I watched it back as soon as I got home. I watched the full game. I don't like watching the highlights first up. I watched the full game, and you could tell that the fans were up for it. And then the reason the fans are up for it more than they've been in recent years, Fergie, is that the players are up for it more. You know what I mean? And so the players been up for it. They're going to lift the fans, and then the fans get more up for it, and they lift the players some more. And mate, it really looked the biggest change for me about Arsenal on Saturday was we looked like a team. We didn't look like a squad of 11 players playing on the field. We were just one team playing as a team. You could see they were all getting on and they all want to play for each other. It was an amazing performance. One of the best performances I've seen in a North London derby for a long time. You've got the so-called greatest striker that England's ever had playing up front. Didn't get a sniff. And if you get a chance, boys, I'll shut up in a minute, folks, but if you get a chance, I think it was in about the 61st minute, right? Tottenham put a ball over the top and there's Saliba next to Kane, right? And they're both going to chase the ball. Saliba turned around, didn't even break stride. Left the so-called best striker in England in his wake and played the ball like that he wasn't under a challenge. It really was a superb Arsenal performance. I'm so excited now. Every week I seem to get more excited about this season. It's so overdue, so overdue. And we've got Liverpool coming up this weekend. It's a massive game now, Liverpool this weekend to follow it
is
up.
Huge. And that's it. We've watched Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Thank you very much. That's the show over. You've gone straight right through the whole thing. The only thing you missed out was Bodo in the middle. We're still on pre-match, Trev, and I remember last week. Well, I know. And to be honest, last week you came along and says it's the first time in a long time that you felt confident that every player on that pitch knew exactly what it meant to play this game. And I think that translated into definitely me and Dan and Alex, but every other player who felt like players, every other fan that went to the game. And that resonated with me. And I mentioned it to a few people before the game. But inside the stadium, we got in early. As you saw, we had lots of beers. There was... Dan's in the middle somewhere there. And it's not him who lets off the smoke bomb. We'll talk about the tifo and the display shortly, but this is like the build-up before the game. And apologies, children. You can take the accountant out of.
Dan will talk for it.
Do you know what? This is the only game still where my mum, bless her, still messages me every single time and says, "Let me know you got home safe. I know how much you hate Tottenham." I've never liked them. I barely like the fans. I've got one mate who's a Spurs fan I'll get on with. The rest of them, honestly, I've never really met any I like. I don't like the fans. I don't like the club. I don't like the players. I don't like anything about them. And we battered them. Brilliant. Love it.
So there was a couple of displays. There was the Red Action London is Red. That was funded by Arsenal Football Club. They paid for that to be on the North Bank. Fantastic flag. Really, really well displayed and everything else. And Raymond and the guys in Red Action do a great job to get that going. But we also had, at the opposite end, we had Ashburton Army, started by 16-year-olds, now 21-year-olds, self-funded, raised $4,000 to make these two banners themselves and also all the flags. Yes, they get the permission from the club, and yes, they're allowed to get in to set it up, but this is all self-funded. And I think what they've done was absolutely fantastic. Trevor, it came across on the TV like they're just the whole siege mentality and what the lads done there. What were your thoughts?
Ferg, it's exactly what Emirates Stadium has been crying out for since we moved in 2006. Many of us have tried to get the atmosphere lifted. Occasionally we get it up there, but not on a continuous basis. And them Ashburton Army boys, you got to praise them. I've seen people moaning about them, but you moan we haven't got an atmosphere. Then you moan when we get all these young kids that create an atmosphere. These young kids, the Ashburton Army now, they've come about 4 generations too late. They have. we've gone for a few generations with not having it, the youngsters there lifting it, and now they've all got together. I'm so proud of them, and long may they continue to do it as well. Long may they continue to do it, and I'm more than happy to stick a few quid in their pot when they need it, mate. More than happy. Wonderful atmosphere. Wonderful atmosphere.
Dan, with the Red Action, okay, they're like Ashburton Army, recognised by the club. Would you like to see Red Action do more in the North Bank? The flags are great. Would you like to see a little bit more? I don't know. Not necessarily as lively as the young lads down there, because there's quite a lot of old fogies in there as well. But would you like to see a little bit more done in there?
Easy.
I'd quite like to see exactly what they're doing in the clock and up in the North Bank, to be honest with you. I think there's been a noticeable change in the type and sort of demographic of the crowd in and around the Emirates the last couple of years. All for it, if it means getting behind the club and creating an atmosphere. And sort of by that, I mean, I think we're moving on the sort of Paul Sandwich Brigade, as they say, and getting rid of that reputation and getting a reputation back for real fans being in the ground that want to just get behind the team, whether it's a win, lose or draw.
Let's look at the game then. So the starting 11 that we had Ramsdale in goal, White, Saliba, Gabriel and Zinchenko as a back four, Partey and Xhaka as our centre pairing. Then we had Saka, Odegaard, Martinelli and Jesus. Alex, is this our best starting 11, and were you pleased with that starting 11 as it came out?
Yeah, I was very pleased. I think we can all agree that this is our strongest starting 11. I mean, there's Zinchenko and Tierney, but I still think Zinchenko offers a bit more offensively and allows Xhaka as well to excel more. But yeah, I was happy that when I saw all the players were available as well, because some of them had a few niggles and stuff towards the game. But yeah, I was very happy when I saw the starting 11, and yeah, it gave me loads of confidence as well when I saw it, because I knew when everyone was ready, I was pretty sure we were going to win it when I saw the starting 11.
Dan, Alex mentioned Zinchenko and Tierney, and I'll go to Trev on the same point as well. And you can fatten out on the starting 11 as well if you wish. But Zinchenko over Tierney. Tierney seems to be better defensively and seems to hold a position in the left back more. We said on Saturday where we stand, we can watch that position quite clearly, especially in the first half. And there was a few times where Richarlison was getting over into that area. And Zinchenko does vacate that sort of left quarter to tuck into where Xhaka is to allow Xhaka to go forward. Are you comfortable with that, Dan? And then Trev, what was your thoughts?
I think it's a tactical change depending on who plays. And I don't really, on him vacating that position, I don't think it really matters, because if he doesn't play and Zinchenko play, and Tierney plays, I feel like the space changes to the other side. When you see Zinchenko play, he comes inside and Gabriel Martinelli will stay wide. When Tierney plays, Tierney will play wide, Martinelli will come in central, and Xhaka will drop into that space. And the same spaces are occupied no matter who plays, they're just in different positions. Okay. So for me, I think it's just the way we are set up to play. We are a team that's going to be on the front foot and going to push forward. We are going to be very, very set in the positions that we take up on the pitch and the patterns of play that we have. But it's working. So if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Trev, your thoughts? And Nancy's as well, of course. Nancy's as well.
Excuse the dog barking. I think it's unfair on the people on the bench to say that was our best 11, because I think the people that we've got on the bench would not see our side weakened when they come on. Tierney for Zinchenko isn't weakening the side. Tommy Asu for White isn't weakening the side. I don't think Vieira for Odegaard is weakening the side from what I've been seeing. So it's the squad, and that's a lovely thing to say, isn't it? We've got a squad that are all worthy of a first team place that are going to have to battle for it, and Arteta is going to have to play as he feels fit, like Dan just said. So no, I'm absolutely over the moon with it, and I can honestly say, I know I'm biased, right? I know I'm biased. I say this with a smirk on my face, but watching that game on Saturday, right, there is not one Arsenal player that I'd swap for a Tottenham player from them starting 11s. Not a chance. Go from 1 to 11 and tell me a Tottenham player that you'd change. You wouldn't change Kane for Jesus. He's nowhere near it. You know, it's just I couldn't put one of them Tottenham players in that Arsenal side and think I'd strengthened it.
And on the starting 11, is this our best starting 11 then?
No.
Yeah, go on, Trev.
It's one of our better starting 11s, but I won't insult the likes of the people that sit on the bench by saying that's our best. That was our best for Saturday. Now, come this weekend, come Sunday, he might think that it's better off putting Tierney instead of Zinchenko. Who knows? And he won't feel this week.
Okay, let me reword it another way. If you were given the option on Sunday to start Tomiyasu or Ben White at right back, who would you choose? Who do you think is in the best vein of form right now?
Tomiyasu. Do you know why I said that? Do you know what? I've got White down on my notes here with a star against his name because people are starting to realise now, and we said it on here a good few weeks ago, but people are starting to see now just what a class act we've got in young Ben White, you know. Playing what was our position, which is now rapidly becoming his position, I reckon. You know, he's not put a foot wrong, has he? He's a confident young man. And what we've lacked in the past is he's got a massive pair of nuts on him, you know, and he does not give a damn who he upsets or what he does. He plays for the badge, nothing else, and it's wonderful to see.
I think he also went up in an awful lot of Arsenal fans' admiration when he got substituted and he didn't come across the pitch to come straight off. He decided to take the shortest route off the pitch because that's the rules and walked straight past the Spurs fans. Well done, Ben White.
Good on him, yeah.
And let them know what the score was as well.
Yeah.
A bit like Theo Walcott. Look at the opening 20 minutes. It was all pressure from Arsenal. And then we saw this. Let me bring this up. Let me just bring this up. I'm going to... Listen, I have to be really careful. I've already been closed on my Twitter account once, Facebook account once, because they're all over this game with video. But this is a 7-second clip, so it's got to start and freeze, and then we'll go. So it's the party's goal. Here we go.
You're all the way there. You're all the way there.
So good. We had to watch it 3 times. We are at the far end, lads. We're all together in obviously separate seats. Yeah, they're all together in separate seats in block 6, we'll say, just to get ourselves out of trouble. We're in the North Bank in the corner, and we just saw this missile going back in the back of the net, and it just went mental. Alex, first time North Bank in a North London derby, witnessing that chaos. Have you got many bruises still?
I think I fell down 3 rows or something like that. I almost missed the goal, but I didn't miss the celebration. It was just a rocket. And we just kissed and hugged everyone around us. It was amazing, yeah.
It is absolutely nuts. You get into some sort of weird stuff that you would never do under normal circumstances with other males. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't have got it in the clock and upper, that's for sure.
No, definitely not. So, Dan, what did you make of the goal? He's done it time and time again for Atletico. We've not seen it at the Arsenal, and that is the first time we've seen it at the Arsenal. Thoughts on the goal and his overall performance actually as well.
He's becoming for me the most key player in that team, and we've just got to keep him fit. I think an awful lot of what he does goes unseen and I think still underrated. And I think I said this a few months ago that he is, in my opinion, one of the best technical players that we've got in the squad, that can take the ball in very tight areas, keep calm, and just keep the play ticking over. And if he gets injured, we don't have anyone like him to replace him, I think, at this moment. But the goal the goal was a fantastic strike. I think when you see it from different angles of his body position, his balance to take the strike and just curl it sort of outside the post back in again. I just remember seeing it hit the back of the net. That's all I saw. I saw the net go and just wasn't expecting it to go in. Obviously, we've seen a lot of his strikes have sort of flown over the bar, and maybe he's finally found his range. So let's hope he keeps going like that.
If I'm honest, I just heard this wave of noise coming from the clock end, saw the back of the net flutter, then it was like a tsunami. It just got, and then it's everywhere, and then there's people all over you, and it's like Jesus. And I remember, I think it was the 4-2 or the 5-2, and I, like you, Alex, went 2 or 3 rows, and I just saw like red, blonde hair, red face, somebody's shoes, and it's just like it's a tumble. It's just like, but it's just unreal. Trev, your thoughts on the goal? Thoughts on the player? There is questions over the player's fitness. There's questions over some other stuff with the player, and there's questions. Some people saying that maybe we cut our losses and cash in and get a better alternative.
Yeah, well, that made me laugh. We've got to wrap that lad Party up in cotton wool, right, and let him out to do his business thing. Get him off the field as quick as we can and wrap him up again, because he has become the key cog in the middle of all of them. He purrs that goal. It was a side foot, he didn't put his laces through it. Side foot, plenty of curl on it. And oh my Lord, what a goal it was, and what a game to get it in. And it's worth mentioning, right? It's worth mentioning. And I'm not saying that it's all to do with him, but the reason we've now got a midfield partner called Granit Xhaka that's going up and down the field, getting in everywhere, putting his foot in everywhere, getting forward, getting back, getting left, getting right, is partly because we've got a Thomas Partey playing alongside him, right, that gives him that freedom to roam. We've not had that. Partey is key in so many ways. Can't disagree with anything the boys have said. He is the main man at the moment in a team of main men, I might
add. Another topic that came out from after that first goal. So Thomas Partey scores the goal. Everyone goes nuts. We're all going absolutely mad. I can't show the video clip that I was going to show, which included that goal. But here's a still from it. And it's this man, Granit Xhaka. He brings everybody into a horseshoe. He come on, tells everybody, get your head together. We go again. We go again. We go again. We will talk more about Granit Xhaka with his goal, but at that moment, Trev, the way he's taken control, I know he chucked the armband. I know all that stuff that we talked about, and we talked about before on Twitter and Facebook. We put up about the retribution of the man, but the guy looking at the All or Nothing documentary and seeing this and taking some of those blinkers off that maybe I had, the guy is clearly a natural leader.
Look, mate, right? Fergus, you and me, right? When it happened, we went in on Granit Xhaka, didn't we? Not as heavy as most. We weren't ranting and raging about it, but we didn't hide the fact that he'd upset us. And I think we were right to feel like that. Fans had every right to feel that way after that episode, right? Every right to have the ump. But we're all grown men. People do change. People do mature. People do change their ways. And now we can't do anything other but get behind Granit Xhaka, because Granit Xhaka is purring this season. He's absolutely purring. His work rate, his passing, his tackling, he's getting forward into the box to make that final pass. I don't know how many assists he's got this year, but it's a few, So we've got to say we move on from the episodes of 3 years ago. We move forward to where we are now, and we all support Granit Xhaka because we all support the Arsenal. It's as simple as that. We all support the Arsenal, and we all support players that play for the Arsenal. So there we go. For me, he's got my full support, and you won't hear another bad word about him from me. What was that?
Likewise.
Was that your
he's going home. he's going. It's my brother, and the lads will get that from our drunken thing when we're outside his house. He was trying to go home, and then he was trying to come back again, and then he's gone home, and we just sang songs. We're drunk. That's what we do. Anyway, back to where we were. Granit Xhaka. The goal. After that goal, then Dan, we had this issue with. It wasn't long afterwards. I think it was about 5 or 10 minutes afterwards. This tackle from no, that was late. That was later.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, that was sorry. Yeah. So there was the penalty. Sorry,
Penalty, yeah.
there was the penalty. The penalty. Now, where I was standing, I looked and I thought, watching it live, inebriated, but watching it live, I didn't think there was much in it. But everyone around me went, clear penalty. I've seen it since, and it is a clear penalty. But it did feel a little bit soft, Dan, didn't it?
I would say at that point, for me, it was stonewall. That's why I didn't really make too many comments about it. As soon as he went down and you saw where the contact was, clear penalty. But look, it's a mistake. When you've got a young teams, they're going to make mistakes. When they're playing in defence or in goal, every mistake gets highlighted. And it's a mistake from a lad that's still learning. But yeah, for me, clear penalty.
Alex, thoughts on the penalty and the obviously clearly the outcome of the penalty was Harry Kane went straight down the middle, and Harry Kane has trained and played with Aaron Ramsdale in the English squad. He normally goes left or right, but on this occasion he goes down the middle. So thoughts on the penalty and how it was taken?
I think it was a situation where no one really took responsibility, because I think first it was Saliba who should have cleared it, then Xhaka should have cleared it, and then of course Gabriel came in with the tackle. So it was just, somebody just should have just kicked it away and cleared it, which resulted in the penalty. But yeah, I think no one was ever in doubt that he was going to score. Kane, he always scores his penalties, and he always scores penalties against Arsenal as well. And yeah, I think he just scored a penalty where he went right up the corner for England before. So of course, Ramsdale, he had to go early to cover the corner, and then he slotted it down the middle. He's good at penalties. Nothing more to say.
And Trevor, the dog's got the better of him.
He's got to fight the dog off the TV remote. Get out of it, you.
Don't speak to Donna that way. That's not nice to speak to your wife that way. For people on the audio, it's his dog. His dog is out of control at the minute. There we go. There's Nancy.
She's a knob.
Oh, dear. So, Trevor, what did you make of conceding the penalty in the first place defensively? How it went, how it went down, etc., and then the reaction there afterwards.
Yeah, it was. When it's Tottenham, you're always looking to say that he dived or it wasn't a penalty, because the front three of Tottenham are all in that mould, aren't they? You know, Richarlison, Son, and Kane, they'll all go down at the touch of a feather. But you've got to be honest about it and say it looked a penalty. It was a penalty, wasn't it? You know, was it Gabriel gave it away, wasn't it?
Yeah, Gabriel.
Gabriel's a bit prone to that, but we've got to forgive him for that. It was a penalty. Kane took it, and so he scored another goal, but another penalty, and that's it. That's all the relevance it had to me, really. I still knew we were going to win the game, so you know, that's it.
And excluding that point, then for the next 5 or 10 minutes, Tottenham looked like they were in a bit of an ascendancy. Richarlison was getting into those spaces. The ones I was talking about, that Zinchenko was further up the pitch for. They were picking out the Gabriel Zinchenko sort of side of the pitch, that corner of the pitch, and they looked like they were getting at us. But it was only for about 10 minutes. We regained control, went into the halftime break at 1-1, and that was it for Tottenham, really, wasn't it? Was that their only spell that you saw them actually turning up?
I think it's just because they finally came out their own box. That's probably why it looked like they had a bit of a spell, if I'm totally honest with you. They had a couple of big chances. I think the one from the set piece was probably one of their biggest chances. Other than that, they did what we all know that they do. They're a little side and they set up like a little side. They sit back and they try and counter, and that's all they've got. They've got a manager who's supposed to be one of the best sort of world-class managers in the world. He's been going on his conferences about how he can teach people about football. We need to teach them to play football to start with. It's just boring
Very
football
true.
for a boring club. Fine, they're in the Champions League. I watched the game last night, the Spurs game. Brilliant game, but mainly because they were rubbish. Champions League, they're nowhere near it. They could qualify, but they're not good enough, are they? So, but yeah, they had a spell. The best team dominated, the real footballing team dominated, and the real footballing team won. So,
all bias aside, I actually agree with you. And
not
trying to look
biased,
at it.
I'm totally honest.
Yeah. No,
analysis of football.
I do agree. And if I was a Spurs fan, I would have been disappointed with my manager if we just fast forward through the game. We will go back to the second half, but if we are 2-1 into a game, and possibly with the chance of maybe getting a set piece or possibly getting another penalty or something like that, to make 5 substitutions after you go down to 10 men and take all your attacking players off to worry about a Champions League game, when for the fans the biggest game in their season is away to Arsenal. As forget about cup finals, everything. The North London derby, either leg is huge to us as fans. And if I was a fan of their club, I'd be very disappointed. And you're hearing some noises on the radio, and you're hearing some noises on Twitter that they're not that happy with Conte in that the style and stuff as well. Alex, Jesus scored his North London derby debut. On his debut, he scored his first goal. Talk to us about that goal. Lloris holding dead air with behind you. The ball was behind him. And we all stood there going, that looks so comical. Surely VAR are going to chalk it off. We didn't even know whether to celebrate or not because of VAR, which was awful, but we still celebrated twice.
Yeah, and I think people were just getting back to the seats as well. But yeah, it was Xhaka. He caused trouble all day long for Spurs. They were trying to double mark him. Didn't really work for them. And he went... he crossed in through the middle, and he curled it to the far post, and Lloris didn't deal with it. Came out to Romero. I don't know why, but he kicked it back to Lloris, and then Jesus snapped it up and scored. And then I want to mention his celebration, because I think he was trying to do a Thierry Henry when he celebrated, and he even pointed out to the stands as well before he did his celebration, like Thierry Henry did against Spurs.
Yeah, Thierry Henry, Aubameyang, and him have done it. So
and
now it's an official North London derby celebration. What did you make of the penalty then, Trev? So I put the pictures up already. Not the penalty, the sending off. I put the pictures up already. So 62 minutes into the game, Emerson Royal does this. From where I was sitting, I thought it was just innocuous. I thought it was a coming together. I thought a free kick, maybe a yellow card. I didn't for a second think it was a red card.
Yeah, it was one of them, wasn't it? I think everybody that I've spoken to about it, when they first saw it, thought, "Oh, that's harsh. That's an harsh red." But when you see it in the slow motion and you see where his studs went, it is a red. I'm still not sure that Emerson Royal. I'm going to be fair to the lad. I don't think Emerson Royal meant to go down his leg like that with his studs, but he did. And it's a red card, and it's against Tottenham. So it's a red card we're all going to celebrate, It was...
but go on, Trev, you're going to say?
Go on.
No, but it was a lazy tackle, though. It was a tackle that he didn't need to make. Martinelli was going, no, he was going to the corner. Yes, they're under pressure. Emerson Royal is not the best player. I was speaking to some Spurs fans in the pub on Friday beforehand. They wanted a 3 in the middle. They didn't want Royal. They wanted Sigurdsson to play. But, it was unnecessary, Trev, don't you think? Dan, why don't you, while he's on his phone?
Sorry. Donna's just messaged me.
Oh, that's okay then. I forgive you.
Yes, take precedence over all of us.
Yeah,
it was going nowhere, Martinelli, was it? I can't work out why Emerson Royal just didn't shepherd him back down the line, because he was going the way Tottenham wanted him to go. It's a strange one to work out. It was an absolutely needless tackle, wasn't it? Absolutely needless tackle. And that bloke Conti shaking his head and giving it the big nose. If that had been a tackle against one of his players, he'd have been giving it the big fake red card all day long. So don't you worry about what Conti thinks. Yeah.
Yeah. So the sending off happens. Tottenham make those 5 substitutions, and not long afterwards we get this. Right, this is a Granit Xhaka's goal from behind the goal. Again, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to show of it. Show it once and see what we get away with. If you're on audio, tough. You should have watched live. If it gets pulled out, but here we go.
This is fun.
Well, if you've got an audio, you've not missed much. Just while we're letting it load, I'll just from the red card. For me, I think that's a blatant intended foul from Emerson Royal. By the way, don't know why they call him Royal. He's more like a peasant, but for me, that is a blatant foul to try and just take the player out from a player that's been frustrated and absolutely schooled for 60 minutes. And when you look at that foul from a different angle, there's no way he's ever getting near the ball, and he's only got one intention, that is just to take the player out because he's fed up and he's been schooled all day long.
To be honest, it was only when we got home when we watched on Match of the Day that we saw the studs. So yeah, I have seen it several times since, and I can see it. I don't think it was intentional in the sense that how you say it, Dan. I think it was lazy. I do think he was being schooled. I do think he didn't want to be on the pitch anymore. But let's talk more about Granit Xhaka's goal.
Wait, before you move on, right? Because it made me laugh. This right when Martinelli's laid on the floor, right? Obviously hurt. He's had studs down his leg. Harry Kane and that Richarlison are around the ref telling him that Martinelli's pretending to be down injured. You couldn't make it up, could you? The two worst culprits in the Premier League for rolling about on the floor pretending they're injured are in the referee's face trying to get him to change his mind about Martinelli. You couldn't make it up, mate. They are such a sad bunch up the road. Right, let's not talk about them anymore.
Conte ball.
Yeah.
So Alex, talk to us about the Granit Xhaka goal and the subsequent celebrations in the North Bank. It was nuts. There's celebrations in the clock end, which are on Twitter, and some people are saying it's staged and fake. Christ, no, we know we've got the bruises. I couldn't walk for about 2 days. I was filling up petrol in my local station, and a guy I know, Peter Dewar, he watches the show. He works in a local car dealership, and I haven't seen him for 4 or 5 years. He hasn't tried to run me over while I was out running for a while, and he saw me getting into the car, and he goes, "Bit of sciatica, Ferg?" And I went, "No, mate, I'm just battered from the bloody Northern Derby at the weekend." And it's like, and I'm walking up and down the stairs. Yeah. Trev, do you remember Chelsea? I had bruises everywhere. It's just, when it gets like that, it's just nuts. Alex, sorry, go on.
Yeah, it was another good goal. I think it was Partey. He worked his way through the midfield. It was quite open, the midfield at that point, because it was after the sending off. So yeah, he worked his way through the midfield and played it out to Martinelli, who took it through the in the middle, and then laid it off to Xhaka, who just with ease just pinged it in the corner. And yeah, the celebrations was just wild. I think it was just relief because we needed that last goal to seal off the game. So yeah, it was just a massive relief when it went in, and I think we flew even further down the rows this time, all the way down to the corner flag.
Yeah, you were. You and your dad go, we're going down. Are you coming? I went, no, I'm all right. And everyone piled out.
Yeah, I mean, I even wanted to jump on the pitch and celebrate with the players. But yeah, it was just an amazing feeling. Can't even describe it.
Dan, Granit Xhaka, redemption. I as we went on before and we talked about it, and we're not going to go back over old ground on that, but I said I'd never sing a song and everything else. But I said they started singing it before he scored, And Az, who's in front of me, I said, "Nah, mate, nah, I'll just leave it. I've never slag him off. I'll just go clap, clap, clap." I said, "But tell you what, we Lord Bentner for coming on after 30 seconds of scoring against Tottenham to win the Northern Derby. Granit Xhaka comes back 3 years later after that evening and scores the winner at the Northern Derby. For me, I sang my lungs out for the guy." What were your thoughts?
I'm not quite there yet, but I'm not going to be a negative fan because for me at the moment, there is absolutely nothing to be negative about this football club. So I'm not going to be negative. The positives for me, I still think footballing wise, the guy has been unreal this year and he deserves all the praise he's getting. He deserves to be the first name on the team sheet at the moment. And what he's bringing to the club on and also off the pitch, I think as a leader is very, very clear. I would ordinarily say he deserves a song. I think very, very happy for every fan that wants to get behind him and sing his song. I'll clap along. I think I'll stop myself short at the moment from singing his name. However, I would definitely say he is changing my opinion by the second. And you do need to be open-minded with things like that and never say never. But at the moment, not quite there yet.
Jack in the comments said he'd been outstanding for the last 2 seasons. Jack in the comments was saying he was outstanding for the last 2 seasons. I think he improved over time, and I think he did get better. But I think from January this year onwards, so part of last season and all of this season, the guy has been outstanding. Trevor, we were celebrating. We saw this up in the North back and in the clock end, 3-1, 90 minutes gone. It was such a great feeling, such a relief. Because 2-1, even at 90 minutes, you're still panicking, aren't you, mate?
Yeah, 2-1. Well, it used to be 3-1 or 4-1 with the Arsenal. You were always panicking, weren't you? But it's lovely to have that 2-goal cushion. And when that third one went in, you just thought that was the final now, didn't you? Just been smiling, listening to you boys talking about games against Tottenham, you know. That's how you make your name at the Arsenal as a player. It's not how you make your name. But if you do something against Tottenham, people always remember it. You know, you boys won't remember it, but people remember the 5-1 Brady scoring his brilliant goal with the day Sunderland scored 3 and Bentner with his header after coming on. If you say to someone, Torreira, what's the first thing they say about Torreira?
That goal.
The Tottenham goal.
That goal, yeah.
You're in a goal. And the same will be said of Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey from Saturday's game, you know, scored 2 very good goals. So if you're going to turn it on, that's the game to do it. That's the one that sticks in my memory. And great memories they are because, you know, they've had their day occasionally, but we beat them, don't we? We always beat them.
So towards the end of the game, we had... That's dancing in the background, honest. This is just the final dying minutes of the game. We've got 90 minutes. You can hear, start singing it. So Arsenal, Trev, are now top of the league. Only beaten, how, I don't know, by Man United. But you know what? I never thought I'd say this at the beginning of the season, but I do believe in what I'm saying right now. And also, especially, you know, Sunday's coming up. But get through Sunday and then the rest of October, we've got to be up there for challenge for the top 2 places. Do you not think, Trev?
I think we already are. Strangely enough, I looked at the bookies odds today and Man City are odds on, rightfully, and then we're about 8-1, and then I think Man United are something like 100-1. You can get on Man United to win the league now. They're all dropping away very early in the season. As long as we keep our form up, we will lose the odd game. But it's, as we saw against Man United, when same as you, Fergus, we were there. I still can't figure out how we lost that game. But We'll be there or thereabouts at the end of the season. I mean, my aspirations now are higher than top four, and that's because we're watching a great Arsenal team play football, and we're all hoping for better than top four. I'm hoping for first because I've got a load of money on it, 66-1, being selfish. But you know,
I got 40s.
we should be, our goals now should be higher than fourth. I think at the moment, if we're honest, we're the second best side in the country going on form.
For sure.
And look at it, right? Look at it. The team that might be rated as the best in the country, we only lost to them at our place last year because the referee stitched us up terribly. One of the worst officiating performances I've ever seen at Arsenal last year at the home game against Man City. So, and Man City will now be worried about us. They'll be thinking, right, Arsenal were the team to beat. Arsenal were the team to play. We are right up there. I'm certain of it. We are right in with a shout. And we're only going to get better.
So finishing up on the North London derby, we scored 13 goals last week against Tottenham versus their 2. So the Arsenal ladies scored 4 to win the North London derby for them for 4-0. The under-18s scored 4 to win 4-1, and the men's team done 3-1. And to be honest, I think it could have been 4 or 5 or 6, but we took our foot off the gas in the last few minutes. Guys, let's.
The accountant here, Fergus. That's 11, not 13.
That's why we got an accountant on there, and that's why I wanted to make sure you were concentrating. You know, I've done that on purpose. I work in finance, so I know how to work things. You know, so you know I can make 11 look like 13 anytime you want.
Well, this is an interesting point, Ferg. This is an interesting point. I'll tell you what, Jack. You made that point. Not ashamed to show it. We can put that round to the panel, can't we, Ferg? We need to keep our composure and concentration. If you said to me, "Give me top 4 now and Europa," I'm taking that.
Yeah, well said.
Not me, Jack. If you said to me right now, you can have top 4 finish and Europa, I'll be saying, no, I think we're better than that.
I think you readjust your expectations during the season as well. And when you look at Liverpool, we're already 10 points ahead of Liverpool. And if we win next game, we'll be 13 points ahead of Liverpool. And you look at Chelsea, they're wobbling as well. So I think, we should be targeting higher than top 4 right now.
Yeah, okay, so if we end up second and end up dumped out of all the cups, including the Europa League, are you then happy, Trev? I personally, as long as we're within that top 4, and if we won the Europa League, we got European Cup, I'm ecstatic, so I'm with Jack.
Yeah. So you would take 4th place now?
No, I said in the top 4, so give me a top 4 place.
So you would take...
Okay.
Well, I'm saying we're in the top 4, but I'm saying first or second.
Yeah, I'm saying we're up there to challenge for first or second, but I think it's slightly too early. As somebody else said, one game at a time. It's slightly too early to say. But if by the time the World Cup comes up, we're in first, second sort of position, I think we're into challenge for sure.
If we're second, we're challenging for top.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If we're second, we're challenging for top. If we're 4th, we're not necessarily challenging for top. But it's an interest, Ferg. I'm just drifting. That's a really interesting point you make, mate. That we've not mentioned yet. The World Cup. The league shuts down for 6 weeks very shortly, doesn't it? Is it 6 weeks or 8 weeks?
Yeah, from December. The Wolves game, the Wolves away game, is the last game until Boxing Day.
Yeah, and then it's 26th. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's about 6 weeks, I think. I'm not sure, but. Does that have an input as to what side we put out? We don't need to rest players now, do we? We don't need to rest players now. We've only got another 3 or 4.
We've got 8. I think we need to rotate a little for. Once we get through the Liverpool game, we have got. There's no easy games, as they say, but we have got less difficult games in the sense that we've got Southampton, Leeds.
Man City got postponed as well.
Yeah, postponed.
And then the away game is tough in the Premier League. I don't think you can rest for those.
Yeah, we got Southampton, we got Leeds. Who else have we got away? We got Chelsea away, and then we've got Wolves away. Yeah,
I think we can rotate some of the players.
We've got Forest at home in between that as well. end of the month.
Jack, we got 8 before the World Cup because there's the Europa League game in there. PSV game has been dragged in to replace the City game because we had 9 games in total for October.
Well,
But
you know the postponed Man City game? You know
Yeah.
the postponed Man City game? Do you think the Sky might keep that up their sleeve for an end
Well,
of season finale?
no, that game is actually a Prime game. It's an Amazon Prime game because I was talking to the governor in the pub,
Oh, okay.
and he's paid for so it's unlikely for Prime to keep it. Oh, well, you never know. I don't think Sky would let them have the last day of the season, a bit like the Tottenham game, and hold that one back. But who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Saliba, I want to get on to the Bodo and touching the Liverpool game, but Saliba's performance needs some comment. I watched him closely in a very big game, huge game for the guy. Yes, there was a bit. There's an element to blame, probably more towards Gabriel, about one or some of them should have cleared the ball for that penalty. But overall, the guy was outstanding. Trev, you mentioned it earlier. He had Harry Kane in his pocket. He had Son in his pocket. He had about, I don't know how many pockets the guy had. He had like 40 coats of pockets, So he done really well. And do you remember that time, Alex, where we're standing there and he's playing the ball round a Tottenham player in the box? And I'm going,
He nutmegged him.
fucking ball. Yeah, and he nutmegged him. Unreal.
His confidence is just through the roof. And his maturity as well. You can just tell he doesn't look like a 21-year-old player. He looks like somebody who's played in the top flight for 10 years and played all the biggest games.
Dan, June 2024, I believe his contract runs out. We need to sign this guy up fast, don't we? Because somebody's going to come in. City's going to come in. PSV's going to come in. Barcelona's going to come in. They're all going to be sniffing after this guy and pay him huge money. He mightn't enjoy the football as much as he's going to enjoy it at Arsenal and the journey he's going to have with Arsenal. But I think these kids just really want the money as well.
There's lots of players in our squad at the moment. If we don't tie them down, there will be big teams sniffing around. So absolutely need to tie him down. For me, the lad just screams composure, and that's exactly what you want from what you'd expect from an experienced centre half. And the lad's 20 years old, and the lad has played 2 full top seasons in France, and I think he was injured for quite a bit the first season. So he has got so many levels that he can still go to if he really applies himself and actually has the coaching staff and people behind him to really help him develop. But yeah, he's just got natural ability as a centre half, and he could be our centre half for years and years to come, as the majority of that team could be for years to come. So for me, it's only excitement. But yeah, just please sign him up.
It's all on Richard Garlick, isn't it, Trev? It's all on Richard Garlick.
I wouldn't say throw money at him though, because I think that's a very dangerous scenario for young players to throw money at. I think what's worked very, very well for us so far is actually signing players that want to play for the club, and exactly what Trev said last week, understand what it means to play for this club in certain games and want to play for the badge. And yes, everyone wants to earn a lot more money. There's a limit to how much loads and loads of money has on a player if they really care about playing for a football club. If they want to go and play for money, they'll go elsewhere. They'll go off to various leagues abroad if they want to. But if you really want to play for a club that's got a lot to them.
There is rumours that we've got a 12-month extension on the Standard. Kai mentions in the chat the Standard have reported that we've got an option to 2025. From my guy in the club, he hasn't said anything about that. The Saliba, we're going to have to cough up and start paying. Martinelli, we've got till, I think, 2025. And Rolls Royce, he's been called a Rolls Royce. Listen, if anybody wants to know what football's about, we watch the 90 minutes on the pitch. We do this chatting. We chat on WhatsApp and everything else. But to go out for a day of football with your friends and your mates and to get this look on your face after the game, that's what football's about. This is me with Alex and Dan and Gary, Alex's dad, on the steps of Highbury. We had just such a ball of a day, and that's what football should be all about. Forget about like people want clicks and likes and this, that, and the other, and people want to get on TV, and it's just football's about friendship and everything else. Let's look at the Bodo game. Alex, we'll talk afterwards about the atmosphere. Actually, do it now, 2 minutes, and then go into your thing that you're going about the Bodo game. So explain to how you felt the atmosphere was when we walked down Blackstock Road up towards Finsbury Park 2 hours after the game, people beating horns and everything. Go on.
It was just crazy. It was like our country had won the World Cup or something like that. It was just amazing to feel. And we went from one pub to another, and everywhere we went, it was just an amazing atmosphere. And yeah, as you said, everyone was honking, and yeah, everyone was wearing Arsenal tops as well. Yeah, I've never had it like that before. After an Arsenal game, and it was just amazing.
On the subject of honking, hello Irish Mick, nice to have you back on live. On the subject of honking, you've got a little bit of a challenge because we're going to play a Norwegian team, and Trevor's going to go to Norway next Thursday. You had a friend that's been to Bodo, actually, isn't he? And he brought back is it a Bodonese? Well, a Norwegian delicacy.
It's local to Bodo, yeah. And
there you go. Screen is all yours.
He brought a local delicacy for me to try on the podcast, and it's dried fish, and it stinks, but I'm gonna try it anyways.
It's rich in omega-3 though.
It's rich in omega-3. It's healthy, but I wanted to try it before I'm sending Trevor to Norway. So I'm gonna give it a try, and yeah, it stinks. And this is what I don't know what it even looks like. Oh, here we go then. Cheers, lads.
Oh. You need chili dip. Everything tastes better if you dip it in chili sauce first.
Yeah, make sure to do that when you go to Norway, Trev. Oh, that is horrible. I hope you won't get served that, Trev.
And now give us some background on Bodo now.
Very good team, Bodo. No, seriously, we have to take them seriously. Bodo, they're a good team. They beat Rome 6-1 last season, and won the Norwegian Championship last season as well. They've done well in the first two games as well in the Europa League. They won 2-1 against Zurich and drew against PSV away as well. So they're doing well. They're struggling a bit more in the National League this season, but I don't think it's going to be a walkover tomorrow. And we have to take them seriously.
Dan, isn't it great to get local knowledge from a Scandinavian, like in Scandinavia? I think it's really good to get local knowledge from local supporters, don't you think?
Well, it's good to tell me what I'm not going to eat if ever I go there. that didn't look like a great reaction. You said, what does it look like? It looked like what Saliba had when he emptied his pockets on the weekend.
Trev, we keep on saying that our Danish gooner, Alex, is like local. Well, I keep on saying local and like he's a Scandi and this, that and the other. I actually stuck into Google. If I was to drive from London to Bodo, and if I was to drive from Copenhagen, where Alex is to Bodo, the difference in journey, take a guess what the difference in journey is, Alex. Trev.
Well, I know Bodo's a long way north because it's about an hour and a half flight from Oslo. And then, an hour?
I was thinking in miles, like kilometers. It's 110 kilometers shorter from Copenhagen than it is from London. So
basically the
same.
same.
110 an hour?
Yeah. Okay.
It was a good guess.
Good
Pretty
guess.
much bang on.
I can't, boys. I just can't think about this trip to Bodo though until for Alex. I've been looking at their results and how they play Bodo, mate, and You have took every single word out of my mouth that I was thinking about saying. They're absolutely no pushover. They're
No.
going to be a stern test. They're going to come and play some good football. And yeah, we should beat them. Hopefully we'll beat them. But if we relax at all, they will punish us. Absolutely. I think they will punish us.
So line-up-wise, Tripe, what are you doing line-up-wise? Are you dropping Jesus and resting him for Sunday? Are you dropping Zinchenko and putting Tierney on? Are you dropping Ben White and putting... Are you rotating? How much rotation are you doing?
I think he'll play a very similar team to the one we saw in Zurich, Fergus, to be honest. I think the Turner will play in goal.
Well, some of us saw it in Zurich.
Yeah. Well, you didn't. You didn't see it in Zurich. You weren't there.
I was in St. Gallen.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, you weren't there for long either.
I was there. I was there for 70 minutes.
But yeah, no comment. Because the thought of that is horrible. But he'll bring. I would think he'll play Turner and Tomiyasu and Holding and Tierney will start and Vieira maybe and Marquinhos because Marquinhos played really well. They all played really well, didn't they, in Zurich? I think that what happened at half time in Zurich had a massive effect on our second half performance. I honestly do. So I don't necessarily agree with him making all them changes. But you asked me what I think he'll do, and that's what I think he'll do, mate. I think he'll go with very similar to what we saw in Zurich because we were playing Zurich.
I took it as that, but my joke. My joke was some of us saw it. Me and Dan were comparing notes of what we remember from the football in St. Gallen, and it's very minimal. We do remember the sausage. We do remember the beers and the lead up. Probably remember the penalty. I remember the halftime, somber celebrations and commemorations. After that, it just gets a bit of a blur.
It would help if we were facing the right way, to be honest, Fergus.
And my hands. I was like a puppet on a string. So, Dan, what are you expecting? Matt Turner. Does that fill you with joy? Matt Turner and goal.
I actually wrote my starting 11 before I came on tonight, and this is what I think they will start. So I think it'll be Turner and goal. I think Tierney and Cedric will be fullbacks, and I think he'll play Holding, and I think Tomiyasu will play centre back because I think he'll play in the left-sided centre back role because Gabriel played against Zurich, and I think needs a rest. If we're going to rest players, I think this is the only game we can rest them. Especially, I think away from home at Bodo, I don't think we can rest as many players because exactly what you said. They'll get themselves up for the Europa League. I think at home we can rest a few more. And then I'll go Lokonga, Vieira, and Xhaka in midfield. I think Xhaka's the one that will start. I think you'll go Eddie up top. Marquinhos will play, and I think Reece Nelson will play as well. Because I think from what they've said, Reece Nelson is back and pushing for a start, and I think this may be his opportunity.
There you go. Jack agrees with you. Marquinhos, Nketiah, and Reece up as the front three. Alex, are we going to have... sorry, before I move off from there, Dan, you didn't answer Matt Turner. Fill you with confidence?
I'm going to say no, but be careful to judge him too early.
We haven't seen much of him, to be fair.
Yeah, so I don't want to... Look, we've gotten a lot of players' backs and they've changed their opinion, so let's not get on his back and let's hope it works out. If the honest answer is no at the moment, but let's hope that changes.
And Alex, Gary in the chat, we know who Gary is. Gary in the chat says, "Lucky we have a great bench. We will keep the big guns on the bench. Wouldn't you thought? Jesus will be on the bench. Martinelli, are at least a selection, depending on fitness, will be on the bench.
Yeah, we need to rest them for the Liverpool game for sure. But yeah, I think we've got some squad depth, and I think we'll see. I agree with Dan's selection. I think we'll see most of them, which he mentioned, and I think we'll have a strong. I think it's a strong side if we field those 11 players. I think they could do the job. But yeah, it's going to be a tough game, and I think it's going to be tougher than the Zurich game as well.
Score prediction then, Alex?
I'll say a scrappy 1-0.
Okay. Dan, your score prediction? I meant to ask you earlier.
2-0 for me.
Okay. Trev, anything to add on the Bodo game and your score prediction?
I think that the lads are there with the selections. I think we've all called it about the same. I think that it's also right to say we'll have a very strong bench, and I don't think that, unlike pretty recently, putting that what we might term as a reserve side out doesn't weaken us that much. It doesn't weaken us that much, I don't think. So very happy with that. Score predictions. How many? I think me and you were right last week, weren't we? Against Tottenham, 3-1. Fergus, did we say?
Yeah, you were both right in 3-1, but Alex was actually even more particularly right because he went 3-1 and a penalty for Kane.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, credit where it's due then. Credit where it's
But he
due.
didn't put any money on it.
I never do. I never put money on an Arsenal game.
I think we'll win 2-0.
I'm going with 2-0 as well.
Tough
I'm
win.
going 2.
Tough win.
Yeah. Like there's some people on the Arsenal fans forum doing 4 and 5, but a 2-0 convincing 2-0 would be good. And you know what's convincing is Europa League. They're difficult to predict. So Trev, we've got Sunday. We will be bearing Sunday in mind throughout the build up to this game. Liverpool haven't been on great form, Trev. But last night they won by a change of formation, and they looked a bit more buoyed by it. And I'm wondering if, they looked like they were missing Mane, and they just couldn't click together. And all of a sudden they've clicked, and they've clicked for us at the very, very wrong time. What's your thoughts on Liverpool? Bearing in mind we've way run over what we normally do.
I think you're right about Mane. I think you can clearly see they miss Mane. It doesn't take an expert to see that there's a missing link in that side, and it's where Mane's left a gaping great hole. I wouldn't be too worried about last night's result and performance because they played 5 forwards last night. Was it 4 or 5 forwards Liverpool played last night? And if they put that lineup out against Arsenal, 5 forwards, then our midfield and our front three will tear them to pieces. So I wouldn't read too much into it. I'm confident that we're going to get a result. I'm not confident just because I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm confident because I'm going by the form book and I'm looking at how players on each team have performed. And I think we're the better side. We're on form. We're the better side. We can't be overconfident because we were on form the better side when we played Man United. And look what happened there. But if it goes to form, if it goes to how it should, we should have enough in the tank to beat this current Liverpool team.
Would you take a draw?
No, well, of course we'd take a draw, but no, not really. If let's put it this way, if we draw, Fergus, I would look upon that as 2 points dropped rather than 1 point gained, mate.
Yeah, where last season we would have thought the other. Dan, anything add on what your thoughts are leading up into the Liverpool game? Obviously, it's 2 games away for us at this moment in time.
Yeah, it's a huge game and a big test. But I think being the home side and the team that should be on the front foot, I think we've got a very, very good chance. A great side at the moment that's in form. But let's not forget that Liverpool are still a fantastic side. And form or no form, they can and always do pick themselves up for Arsenal games. They pick themselves up for big games. And you don't win the Champions League and things like that without being that sort of team. Notoriously, they've been very, very good up top and they've been very, very good at the back. They are good in both boxes. I think losing Mane has affected the way that they press and it sort of exposed their midfield a little bit more and also a couple of injuries. And they've not looked as solid at the back as a result. But they are a top side. And people saying about, if we win, we'll definitely be above Liverpool. 14 points for a top side is very achievable still for a team of that quality. They are still, for me, on paper, and football is not played on paper, but on paper, one of the top 2 sides in the country. So, and in the world, to be honest.
Alex?
Yeah, I agree. They're still a top team, and if they click on Sunday, we will have a hard time playing them as well. But to me, it's just weird that they haven't clicked yet. They've lost Mane, but they've brought in £100 million €100 million striker in Darwin Núñez, who hasn't really hit the ground running. He was poor yesterday as well. But yeah, they've got massive potential, Liverpool. But yeah, I'd take a draw. But like you said, last season, I'd be very happy about a draw this season. I'd more see it as 2 points drop, but I'll still take a draw.
Yeah, to be honest, it's difficult without seeing the lineups and so on. They'll have a day more rest than us, all that rubbish. I'd take a draw, but I'm slightly confident. I think we can nick it by a goal.
I'm optimistic as well.
Yeah. Listen, before we go, I just want to. We've got breaking news from the Tony Adams statue. You can't stop him, can you? Cap or Dan, he's everywhere. He's just singing. Listen, there was one thing I wanted to discuss very, very briefly, or just even touch on very briefly, was the post-match interview by Granit Xhaka. I meant to talk about it earlier. He was very humble, and for me, that was another thing that made me change my opinion more. That he came along and he mentioned, I think it was the Match of the Day interview, and we talked about it before we went live. Watching Arsenal and Match of the Day is a different game to watching it when you're live. It looked like Tottenham were actually in the game, which they were never for a second. But he came along and said, asked about all the Arsenal fans singing his name. He said, considering where I was 3 years ago and to where I am now, he said, I'm very proud and I'm very humbled. And I thought that was very, very good of the man to say. Trev, anything to add? Because or do I go to the other two before Trev time starts? Anything to add before we finish?
I think you've summed it up pretty good tonight. Just the only thing is, let's just go and win that big game on Sunday, and honestly, we'll win that game. And for me, the league title is definitely on. I know people said earlier on about would you take top four and Europa League. As a fan, no. As a fan, thinking with your heart, loving the club, just believe that you can win the league title until it's over, and win Sunday and it's still on.
Yeah. Alex, we won't see you back on these shores till after Christmas, but you know, you've got the app. You know how to make the quick early check-in and reservation and book your Uber, don't you?
Cheapest hotel in London, Fergus Keating.
No, finest.
Cheapest and finest.
Okay, there we go. That's better. That's better. So here we go. It's Trev time.
No, I've got nothing really to say, Fergus. It's just lovely that we've had a podcast tonight and we're talking about Arsenal were good at this, Arsenal good at that, Arsenal good at this. We've got these good player, that good player, and what if, and it's all positives. And when you think about where we've been and what Mikel Arteta inherited, it's just, we just got to soak it up and enjoy it, Arsenal fans. Just soak it up and enjoy it, because we are now where we wanted to be. And Dan just hit the nail on the head. Don't want anything other than this team to win the league. Want us to win the league. Nothing else should be acceptable to you at this current time, because we're Arsenal fans and we want to see us lift that trophy again. So just keep positive. We're going to hit a few stumbles on the way, but we're better than we have been for years. Enjoy it. Smile and just enjoy every minute of it, as we can see that you boys are.
Yeah, I can't disagree with the word you said there. All I would say is we've now reached, I think, over 750, touching nearly 800. Yes, Nancy, nearly 800. Thank you for the correction. Subscribers on YouTube. Listen, we're not after fame and fortune. We just like to open up certain things that we can do. If we get to 1,000 subscribers, that was a target I had set at the beginning of the year of this season to try and get to December. So if you like what we do, go onto YouTube, click on the bell. There's not much else to say, but you know, we always have to finish on that.
Run free.
You have been watching an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Guys, thanks very much, as always, for joining us in the chat and people who listen back, who subscribe to us on SoundCloud. We really enjoy doing this, but we also feel very privileged when we get feedback from people that they've enjoyed the show like we did and we talked about last week. That was very touching. Trev, now you can look after that dog properly.
Oh, she's doing me head in. She's been bark. I've never used the mute button so much in all my life. Do you know what? I'd honestly
You could have used it more last week.
I'd rather listen to you focus than her, which is an amazing thing to say. Up the Arsenal. Come on, you Gunners.
Come on, you guys.
You've been listening to Guns and Yellow Ribbons, an Arsenal podcast by Arsenal fans for Arsenal fans. Follow us on Facebook at Guns and Yellow Ribbons and Twitter at Guns and Ribbons. And remember to rate and review us too.